and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road, just south of 14th and Highway 2.
It's time to go one-on-one with DP. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Derek Pearson, brought to you by Canopy Street Market.
Boom! Welcome to One-on-One here on 93.7 The Ticket. Once again, DP out. He'll be back later today after his trip to Washington, D.C. But we've got together the round table here. It's not a round table, but we have at least got the three of us.
The Knights of the Semicircle table.
There we go. Back together. Jake Balkovin, myself here, as well as Nick Sainert and Austin Overman. And we're here to celebrate. We're here to discuss Nebraska basketball after their big victory over Illinois. Now, there's also some negativity from the weekend. We don't have to dive too much into that. We can get to that later. But obviously, Husker volleyball came up a little bit short on their way to an undefeated season. But let's keep it positive. Let's start with Nebraska basketball. Jamarcus Lawrence, of course, hits the buzzer beater to give Nebraska the 83-80 win over Illinois. Number 13 Illinois at the time. So we'll see today. I don't believe the polls have been released how far Nebraska can move up in the top 25, but officially a historic season as Nebraska starts 11-0 for the first time in school history. Look at the Big Ten standings, of course, 2-0 as well. That's a big deal. Nebraska hasn't, I don't believe, have done that even in Big Ten tournament play, or maybe if they had, it'd be rare. So obviously just a great start for Nebraska against Illinois. And we were talking about it back in the back there, guys. Is this the biggest win in the Fred Hoiberg era?
I don't know if I can go quite that far, because we have to remember Nebraska did beat a number one team, but that was at home. And that was a really good Purdue team. And I still think that anytime you can beat a number one team, anytime you can do it for the first time in, what would that be, 42 years, I think, 42 seasons, that still probably has to take the cake because of everything that it ended up leading to down the road. But I do think that you have to at least consider this win, right? Because Nebraska made that game live up to expectations, right? If you look at the post-game notes that Nebraska sends out, that's just Nebraska's second win in Champaign since joining the Big Ten. Nebraska is now just 3-14 all time in Champaign, just 2 wins in that gym. First win in Champaign since 2016. Nebraska did beat Illinois at home last year in a back and forth sort of game, but the stakes around this one were school history on the line. You tied your best start, but now you extended it. You know, you're a ranked team. You won your game at home as a ranked team. And then you had the chance to double down on it, to prove that it wasn't a fluke, to take the show on the road. Fred Hoiberg said after Wisconsin, boys win at home, men on the road. You know, men win on the road. And Nebraska did that. It wasn't perfect, but it was about as well played a game as I think you could ask for the most part from Nebraska, that played well, that overcame some adversity. And if you want to give the nod to the Purdue win, I can't blame you. I'm probably there with you. But I do think there's a real case to be made that given all the other stakes around this one, this at least has a chance to be, for now, the best win of the Fred Hoiberg era.
I think you guys are onto something. What I would say a little differently is, and we're really, grasping at straws and fighting or arguing over minor differences. I think this is the most impactful. You look back at that Purdue win and the streak that they went on, where they had wins over Wisconsin at home, who was a top 10 team at the time, and then Purdue at home. This feels, I don't want to say that those felt fluky, but this feels like from top to bottom, they're just a better basketball team than they were when they played those teams. From top to bottom. Because I think you look back at those and go, okay, without Casey in that game, you probably don't win. Or without Rink in those games, Rink late in those games, you don't win. I think what we noticed about Saturday, it was another indication that this team is from top to bottom. There are multiple areas where they can hurt you, where Price Sanford in the first half obviously was a big key. And that's something I texted one of my buddies during it was, all right, expecting Illinois to maybe have a change in game plan or attack against Price Sanford defensively. Not only do we feel like maybe Price can then take it on the floor and get something close to the bucket, but then guys like, okay, go ahead and put the ball in Rinkmath's hands. Go ahead and put the ball in whether it's Braden Frager or Sam Hoiberg's hands, Jamarcus Lawrence. Like there's a lot of different areas and people that can hurt teams for Nebraska. So I think it was the most impactful win because this was the biggest one so far this season where you can look at it and say Nebraska has a team. Everybody loves to talk about the net rankings, the quad rankings. Nebraska 2-0 in quad 1 games. Oklahoma was the neutral site right on the fringe at 50th in the net. That's right on the fringe for neutral site games of a quad 1. Obviously on Saturday, it was a quad 1 win, but elsewhere you look at what they have upcoming. After North Dakota and New Hampshire, 4 of your next 5 are going to be quad 1 opportunities. We're going to learn a lot as the calendar turns over in January, Bach, about how good this team really is.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You look at even last year, and as we kind of do this, kind of look through the biggest wins here, is that Nebraska, this is not necessarily new to beat a top 25 team. They were 4-4 against them last year. Of course, did not make the NCAA tournament and kind of fell out there toward the end, as we know, started this streak by winning the Crown tournament. But so I think that's another thing that's it's just kind of refreshing or even weird as a Nebraska basketball fan, where it's like you used to maybe hopefully Kansas comes to town, you get an upset, 1 out of every 8 years, and maybe you'd beat somebody else here and there, but it just was very rare. And now it's like not only is Nebraska ranked, but they're continually beating ranked teams.
Another thing from the game notes, Nebraska is now 10-11 in its last 21 games against ranked teams dating back through March of 2022.
That's crazy.
The formula really for a team or a program like Nebraska, I've heard this first in baseball, but I think it does apply to other sports as well. If you can beat up on the bad teams and go 500 against the good teams, that at least gets you in position, right? And that's what Nebraska has done. You think back to March 1st of 2022, right? That's when things really, start to turn for Nebraska. Would have been at the end of the 21-22 season. 22-23 is where they go 500. After starting the year a little rough with Derek Walker on the bench. And then 23-24, obviously the run to the tournament. Nebraska obviously gets more ranked on ranked and just, ranked opportunities in basketball by virtue of the longer season, right? 31 games as opposed to say 12 for football. But if Nebraska can go 500 against ranked teams in any given year, and I think the floor of this program is raised to where they're going to beat up on the bad teams, they're going to handle business. That's the formula. It's hard to win games against ranked teams. Going 500 or thereabout is a pretty good record for a team in a program in Nebraska's shoes. It's not like you're looking at it like, oh, if they can get this one, it'd be nice, but they don't need it. The other part of this is Nebraska's won enough of these ranked games that now you're like, hey, it's not just a puncher's chance, right? Nebraska is a legitimate good team that we have to give more than just the pity chance to win this game and just pray for an upset. Like Nebraska is going to be in these games.
Guys, this is a little off topic though. I just pulled up Nebraska's StubHub for Nebraska versus Michigan State. Have you guys looked at this at all?
Not yet. I mean, so interested though.
It is quoted as, so there's different levels on StubHub where it's like good deal, good, low demand, high demand, hottest event. Nebraska and Michigan State is categorized. It's an 8 p.m. tip-off on January 2nd. Hottest event. So I posted on my Twitter just a couple minutes ago the ticket prices. You cannot sit in the lower bowl for less than $276 per ticket. There are tickets that are available for $486. There are tickets that are available for $335, $544, $584. An important thing to remember on January 2nd, students will not be there. They will be on break. So fans are able to buy the tickets that students where they usually sit. And so this is going to be, you can't sit in the 200 level for less than $226. It is absolutely insane. What if Nebraska, what we expect, right, is that they beat North Dakota and New Hampshire. You're talking about an undefeated Nebraska team probably ranked in the top 15 at that time for sure. Ranked in the top 15, going up against a around top 10 Michigan State team on January 2nd. It is going to be the things that are around the corner for Husker Hoops are so fun. It's so much fun to talk about.
Yeah, and Michigan State, by the way, a 9-1 at this point. They've got Toledo, Oakland, and Cornell before
so
that game,
right.
so they should be okay. Oakland's been known to make an upset.
So let's speak. So 13-0 Nebraska versus 12-1 Michigan State.
Yeah, and like you're saying, I think
the last time
their
Michigan
rankings
State
are going
came
up.
to Lincoln.
Didn't Nebraska won
77-70. Now last year we can erase that one. That was a near 40-point win for Michigan State, but Nebraska did beat them. That's an interesting Michigan State team, and I think part of the reason Nebraska evolved to the way that it did was because Fred Hoiberg spent quite a bit of time around Tom Izzo. You think about Jack Hoiberg being up there at Michigan State for a while. What does Michigan State do? They play two bigs pretty consistently, and they like to get out and run in transition. What has Nebraska done? They've started playing two bigs over the last 3 or 4 years, and Nebraska has really eschewed offensive rebounding to get back in transition. I have not been a believer in Michigan State for a couple of years. They keep finding ways to win. Credit to Coach Izzo and his guys. But I think a lot of what Nebraska has done is in response to a lot of what Michigan State has done.
Well, I think that's fair. I mean, it is fun to watch the Nebraska team and the team building, and obviously the changes in philosophy over the years. But as we look at this team again, still North Dakota and New Hampshire before that game, should be wins and should be exciting. What do you guys want to see during those games? Because it is still a team that can get better. Yugi Irisavicius should be back for that game. Can he kind of make the lineup right away? How much can he play in those games? You don't want to take wins for granted, but what do you guys want to see? I mean, Braden Frager didn't score the other day. Berke, 3 points, and obviously, but so there's just room to grow. Who specifically, and obviously the man we shouldn't have gone this far without speaking about Jared Garcia and the extended role that he's getting.
Yeah, I don't know if to me it's a who, because I do think to Nick's point before, Nebraska is a team. It's deep. You don't just need one or two guys to go off. I mean, Stanford in the first half, then you have 3 guys in double figures in the second half for Nebraska just against Illinois. Frager's going to be up and down. I think if Nebraska does get off to a little bit of a slow start, that's where bringing Braden Frager in off the bench to be a spark, I think, is going to be key down the road. If Frager's really good against the middle of the road and bad teams, and then is just not a negative against the really good teams, that's fine for him as a freshman right now. So if Nebraska is a little sloppy against North Dakota and New Hampshire, you hope that he can be that energy spark off the bench. Other than that, it's trust the process, right? I think this is a mature team that knows how to handle business, but they can't afford to fall back into bad habits, right? They've had some hiccups at different times, right? You think about Maryland Eastern Shore, how that game went for Nebraska, not exactly as comfortable as Husker fans would have wanted it to be. These couple of games, can't even look like the first 8 minutes, say, against West Georgia. These are games that Nebraska just has to make sure it wins every 4-minute segment. I want to see the bench guys at the end of the game maintain or extend the lead, I think, here late in this one. Just trust the process. Keep grinding away at what you're doing and make sure you put together 2 full 40-minute games to make fans feel good for the game that's coming up in about 3 weeks against Michigan State.
Guys, so I'm looking at a lot of these different sites, whether it's Bart Torvik, whether it's Ken Palm, Net, Quad, stuff like that. Just looking ahead, I mean, first off, what's miraculous? I mean, you have guys like Price Sanford shooting 71% from the field, from 2-point shot on just strictly 2-point shots, also shooting 40% from 3. You have Sam Hoiberg shooting 62% from 2. You have Braden Frager shooting 72% from 2. It is. I mean, Nebraska has 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that are shooting 40% or higher from beyond the 3-point line. This is, but once again,
even Stanford's not at 40.
Yes,
but
at 39. Sorry, 39 points. He's at 0.393. So 39,
but on high volume.
Yes, 35 of 89 3-point shots this year. It's crazy to think about that Nebraska has found a way to, and this is what good teams do. This is what great teams do. Teams that are capable of winning in March is they find a way to improve their deficiencies while still keeping their identity. Nebraska basketball, what's won them games this season more times than I think we give them credit for is their defensive ability. Now, granted, a lot of times, like if you're gonna win by 9, you're gonna win 90-60. Sure, you scored 90 points. Not very many teams are gonna be able to beat you. But I go back to the Creighton game, and I go back to even the games like Winthrop or Kansas State or New Mexico. And yeah, Nebraska just surely outscored opponents, but it wasn't like the Oklahoma game. It wasn't where you needed 105 to win, or you needed to score in the century to win. Nebraska and Nate Lenzer, we continuously talk about them. Saturday, especially in that first half, I felt like Nebraska came out with a defensive intensity that kind of got overshadowed by Price Sanford's ability just to shoot the rock.
My only pushback to that will be I'm not sure how sustainable Nebraska's success is defensively.
Sure.
I think that they've set a high bar. I struggle to think it's going to continue to be this good for 18 more Big Ten conference games. It'll be a good defense. I'm not sure it will continue to be this elite. I did a whole TC3 on that actually on Friday night. But you're right. I think the thing that Nebraska has done is gotten to a point where it's good enough defensively, good enough in rebounding to where it allows the offense to thrive.
Yeah.
I do want to get to this from Byron the Hog Farmer. Undefeated with Jacobson playing 10+ minutes since last year is the weirdest stat. It's really not when you think about it, because you think about Kale being a little bit down the bench. Sometimes some of those minutes come in mop-up duty.
Sure.
But this year, he's playing legit minutes. And I think that stat carries a little bit more weight. And then remember, Nebraska couldn't finish around the rim for years. Now they can. Well, a big part of that's due to the outside shooting. When Nebraska's shooting well, that's what Fred Hoiberg talks about when he mentions gravity, is opposing teams help defenders can't just pack the paint against Nebraska like they could last year or even at times 2 seasons ago. When the floor is this spread out, you have to think about the quality of looks that Nebraska is getting at the rim. It's a lot of back cuts. It's a lot of one-on-one drives where guys have to stay attached to their responsibility and not be able to help. I think Nebraska's guards and wings are better at finishing around the rim because of that. I do still have some concerns with Nebraska's posts being able to finish through contact. Hasn't been consistent. Sure, they'll draw their fouls and get to the free throw line, but seeing them actually convert through contact would be nice. But yes, Nebraska is better around the rim, and I think it's because they're better on the perimeter as well.
Bach, what if I would tell you, so this is what Bart Torvik has on his projection, and he basically projects like, okay, the Nebraska, this is what they're going to be favored in this game. If this game was played today, this would be the spread. Right now, obviously North Dakota projecting a 93-58 win for Nebraska. New Hampshire projecting a 91-57 win for the Huskers. As of right now, projecting a 71-70 win against Michigan State for Nebraska. After that, projecting a 1-point loss at Ohio State, projecting a 5-point loss at Indiana, projecting a 10-point win versus Oregon. Now we're getting a little farther away, but he has Nebraska, according to his model, has Nebraska finishing the season 24-7 with a 13-7 mark in the Big Ten Conference. Now, I will do this as we are talking here. Like, I don't remember the 2024 Big Ten basketball standings. Let me pull them up real quick. 13-7 would have put you in. I want to make sure I get this right. 2024, 2025. 13-7 would have had you tied for 4th in the conference standings last year. So when we talk buys in the Big Ten tournament, where you don't have to play on, what day does it start now? Tuesday?
Probably Tuesday.
Right?
all the teams are in again, right?
Yeah, all the teams are in. So it's probably going to start Tuesday. If you don't have to play till Thursday, that's massive. That is huge for Nebraska. And so I can't remember. Maybe it's even Friday. Maybe you start in the quarters when you're a top 4 team.
You do start in the quarters.
So you play Friday. Teams would have to play 3 games before they play you on Friday. The advantage is there if Nebraska can do just what they're projected to do and maybe a little bit extra is really fun.
Would 13-7 feel like a letdown after a 2-0 start?
It wouldn't feel like it does now. So yeah, I mean, I think a little bit. That's what I think. I think as we go through these things, it's like I don't think Nebraska, this team, and we're seeing it now, I don't think this is a team we're preying on Selection Sunday they get in. I think this is a team that can, when we get to Big Ten tournament time, and usually that's the same thing, it's like, well, maybe they can win a game or two and kind of help their resume. they'll be a real threat. Now we have to see. Michigan looks like a beast.
So good.
I mean, so I don't know, outside of that, short of saying, well, they look like the favorites, but there's a long season. We'll kind of see how this plays out. But Nebraska feels like a team that you definitely don't want to play in the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, here's this on the projection thing later in the year. Bart Torvik has Nebraska losing by 1 to USC on the road and losing by 3 on the road at UCLA. If you can flip one or both of those, then you instantly become 26-5, and we're talking 15-5 in the conference.
Which is really hard to do.
It's incredibly difficult. I mean, think about what we're talking about right now.
Which is where the reason I think 13-7 would probably feel like a letdown from where the team is now and still be incredible is because in my head, that's Nebraska going like 8-2, 9-1 at home, and that'd be 4-6 or 5-5 on the road in the Big Ten. For as good as Nebraska looks right now, they got to keep stacking days, and I think I'm in on this team. They got to prove to me they can get to that mark, which is where I have a hard time getting to 15. But 13 absolutely needs to be in play for this team after starting 2-0.
And Bach, I mean, what if I would have told you this last year as Nebraska finished the season 7-13 in the Big Ten Conference? That you're talking about a 12-game difference. You've improved by 12 games just in conference play. It's a 12-game shift. 6 more wins, 6 fewer losses. If we all sat there last year and said, hey, go through, you're going to be 7-13 in the conference this year, but next year that record just in the conference gets flipped, and you pair that with a 13-0 Big Ten conference record, non-con record, I think there's a lot of fans that would sit there and go, okay, yeah, that's a shift from in just one season.
Well, it's going to be interesting. It's somewhat uncharted territory. So I'm interested to see how the fan base even reacts as we kind of get going here. Obviously, the sky's not falling one way or the other this season, so that's kind of nice to not have to deal with that. I don't want to say that too quickly. Obviously, they had a chance to make the NCAA tournament last year and drop the Final Five, so Nebraska basketball can always rear its ugly head. But, I mean, again, once you beat a top 15 team that I believe to be a top 15 team, not a fluke top 15 team, on the road, you're in the discussion to win just about any game that you're in. So, I think the expectations and to see where this goes now, can Nebraska kind of stay hot? I mean, part of it into that defense that you guys are talking about is Nebraska's 3-point defense. I mean, this is a big, the 3-pointer is huge, obviously in basketball, and more important in the Steph Curry revolution and all that. But Nebraska basketball really leans into that. They give up a lot of 3-point attempts, and they've been holding teams on the season below 30%. Can you keep that up? Is that because of Nebraska's length and their grit, and running ability and all that to contest those, or are they going to run into some teams that get hot? And on the flip side, Nebraska shoots more threes than they do twos. Right now, they have more 3-point attempts, 10 more than they do twos. So again, a lot of it's going to come down to can Nebraska keep the hot shooting, but again, when you talk about something being a fluke or not, you've got 5 guys that are hovering around 40% from beyond the arc. And that's why, they're so difficult to defend there.
Don't get it twisted. Illinois is legit. Like I think Illinois is good.
Oh, yeah.
They were bigger than Nebraska, and they dominated Nebraska, especially on the offensive glass. And I think this is an Illinois team. Like, this is not just an Illinois team that was ranked 15th because they started the season around the 20th mark, beat some bad teams. They were coming in. They beat Texas Tech, who's a very good team. They lost by 4 to Alabama. They beat Ohio State on the road. They beat Tennessee by 13 points. Like, this is a team that has been tested a little bit more in the non-con than Nebraska has, for the Huskers to then go on the road to Champaign and win. I get that Illinois pulled within, a couple at the end and obviously tied it up. But this was a game that was consistently 7 or more points of differential. And that was what was more impressive for me, is that it wasn't that Price started out hot, Illinois came back, and then Nebraska was trying to play catch up and just kind of lingering around. No, it was Illinois trying to linger around and just barely did enough, with some help of really some shady officiating throughout the game and just inconsistencies there that allowed Illinois to really get back into this thing.
All right, we are ready to take a break. We'll continue to talk Husker sports and more here on 93.7 The Ticket. This is One on One. We'll be right back.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store. You're listening to One on One with DP. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
The holidays are here, and there's every reason to make Tipsy Tina's Taco Cantina part of your plans. Are you heading to a Nebraska basketball game? Stop at Tipsy Tina's before or after for delicious tacos. Meeting friends for drinks for an ugly sweater get-together? Enjoy Tipsy Tina's variety of margaritas. And if you're not sure about what to get for a gift this year, Tipsy Tina's gift cards are always a great idea. Don't forget about the event space at Salt next door to Tipsy Tina's, all of them located in the Haymarket at 8th and Q.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see mostly sunny skies with a light breeze. An afternoon high around 50. Tonight, clear skies, calm winds, below around 27. And tomorrow, we'll see partly sunny skies and light winds and mild temperatures. An afternoon high near 55. I'm meteorologist Kyle Fletcher from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Anderson Ford in Lincoln has 2 convenient locations, which means 2 times the customer service, 2 times the inventory, and 2 times the ability to get you in the car of your dreams. Whether you visit us on the north side or the south side, you'll find more selection and a team that's always on your side. When you're looking for a better way to buy your next Ford, visit Anderson Ford in Lincoln, where exceptional service meets unbeatable selection.
Rosie's Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road, just south of 14th and Highway 2.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Are you tired of your usual barbershop experience? Stop into Scissors and Scotch today. I know what you're thinking. Drink during a haircut? Don't worry. First comes the precision cut from one of their experienced barbers, followed by your complimentary cocktail in their upscale lounge. Scissors and Scotch blends your old school barber feel with your favorite watering hole. And now you can earn $10 off by simply mentioning the ticket. And if you're an existing member, still mention the ticket for an exclusive offer. Offer valid at Lincoln location only. Scissors and Scotch, located just south of 30th and Yankee Hill, and online at lincoln.scissorscotch.com.
You're listening to One on One with DP, brought to you by Canopy Street Market on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on One on 93.7. The Ticket as John Cena's music plays here. What do you guys think of John Cena's final match?
Did you just give up or something?
Yeah, he did give up.
Sad. Lame.
He said don't give up his entire career, and then his go out his eye, just give up. Yeah, that's
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, there you go. Wave your hand in your face. All right, let's continue this discussion. I mentioned at the beginning, though, there a little bit of bad news from the weekend as well as the Nebraska volleyball team. Season ends with that loss to Texas A&M. Just about everything that went wrong pre-match we're good of for the Huskers. So that depth that we always talk about was kind of taking a hit there. And then, of course, fell behind in the 2-0 hole and had to do everything to get back into it. Set number 4 was absolutely incredible. One of the most exciting, your heart was just kind of bumping every second that went the distance. Obviously, the season ends a little bit disappointing because you have the undefeated team and the expectations were what we always say, Final Four bust, and for this team specifically was kind of championship or bust because of how good they played. Mm-hmm. What was you guys' kind of viewing experience and thoughts after the game here?
Nick, you go first. You watched more than I did.
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate. I'll say the same thing I told AD this morning. I'm never going to use the excuse card. But I think the fact of the matter and stuff that you're not going to see on the stat sheet is that the fact that Andy Jackson just you had to sit an All-American yesterday.
Yeah.
That's really hard to replace, whether you're Nebraska, who's got all conference type of players on your two deep or not. And so now there's going to be a lot of questions on whether or not they should have, and should they have put her back in, or what was the case there and stuff. But I think yesterday it was a situation of that built up with, there was some sickness going around, and I'll say that with some very key players that gutted it out yesterday. Because and also at that same spot you had injuries, and Campbell Flynn wasn't able to go, and on top of that, Ali Czech, who's a piece that for a Nebraska volleyball program that doesn't utilize the portal, you just don't, because you bring them up through your farm system, so to speak. You go out and you're able to be very selective and very picky in who you bring in, and Ali Czech is a player that they identified and viewed as somebody that could really help them throughout the season, and ultimately her getting hurt pregame probably messed some things up, and they probably had to make some last second adjustments. Now, I say all this not to discredit Texas A&M, because A&M came out with a really good game plan. I felt like this is the most Nebraska's been tested physically since the Kentucky match, way at the start of the season. And this, I thought that A&M's middles matched Nebraska's middles, especially without Andy Jackson, as well as anybody has all season long. And, it's just I think back and go, man, we're acting like things are atrocious. And we were getting, DBK on our show earlier was getting kind of not harassed, but talked about on the text line as she's got to do something different. She's got to have some more fire under her on the bench. And I'm sitting here going, think about what we're saying. Like, the expectation that we put on this Nebraska volleyball program year in and year out is national championship or bust. Now, don't get me wrong. If Nebraska goes next year and doesn't win one, then you're going to look at this core Nebraska's had and Rebecca Alec obviously graduating this season, but next year, especially with Choboy and Jackson and Harper Murray, yeah, it's okay to look back and go, probably should have won one or two with that core. But also think about what we expect from this team. We expect them just to be a shoe into the Final Four, into the national championship match every year.
You get outswung, you get out killed, you barely outdig, you get out blocked, and the other team has more aces than you.
Yeah.
And won this game statistically. And yet, as much as maybe the fourth set was a drain on Nebraska having to come back, to me, I have to go back to that first set. You're up 5. You have A&M at arm's length.
Yeah.
And you give up a 10-0 run in your own gym.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't find a way to manufacture 1 point and get out of rotation.
Yeah.
In the hardest gym to play in America. I get it's a 5-set match, but this is a team that had dominated first sets. That was a big part of their success, was they gave themselves so much margin for error by winning that first set. Then other teams had to be perfect to just get one off Nebraska. And sure, credit A&M for going on that 10-0 run. I don't think anyone's done that against Nebraska this year, especially not in this home gym. That to me is probably the most disappointing part. Last year, it was being 2 points away from going to play for a national championship and not being able to close it out, right? You have to credit Penn State, but that came late in that match. This came early in that match. A&M knew it had to come out and set the tone early. Nebraska having that lead and not being able to extend that lead in the first set and find a way to win it, set the tone, gave A&M confidence, because then, hey, guess what? Back and forth second set, and then your margin for error is gone.
Yeah.
A&M is playing well. A&M's on a roll. A good enough third set for Nebraska, back and forth. If Nebraska ends that set at, 34-32, is it any different? If it's 29-27, is it any different in the fifth? I don't know. But again, A&M started fast, and A&M got out to that fast start in the fifth set, which is where you think of a team as dominant as Nebraska, where they needed to be better, where they had been so good this year, especially in the first set. To me, it's that 10-0 run that I think really set the tone for the whole match.
Yeah. I think, Buck, when you look at Nebraska, and that's where it's almost surprising because it's so uncharacteristic for Nebraska. I think it's more instead of anger or frustration, it's a little more shock for us. Because as we watch Husker volleyball on a consistent basis, guys, and over the last couple of years, like it's almost a shock when they lose. And sometimes I'm not trying to downplay it one bit, but I just think that there's sometimes you just don't have it. And yesterday, because of a variety of things, right, both on the floor and off the floor, in their control and out of their control, they just didn't have it. And now Nebraska is going to be looking for a couple holes to fill going into next year.
And obviously, just the one loss on the season, you lose to a team that, by default of the matchup, is a Final Four team. So obviously a great a great year. Unfortunate that it came down to that, but it went 5 sets. And I think DBK was kind of saying that after the game too. Is like there's disappointment, but it's not in how much you put out there, how much effort that they expended into this thing. So I mean, it was it's there. It's going to be there every year for Nebraska.
It's crazy though, guys, because like they played probably their worst match from start to finish that they have all year, and they still took a team to 5 sets in the Elite Eight.
Yeah,
like we're talking about, you basically played a top 8 team in the country, played your worst match, and you took them to the end. Like
you essentially lost by 2.
Yeah, I just it was so uncharacteristic because to win a set 37-35, and I'm not, once again, not trying to downplay it or take anything away from A&M, but also at the end of the day, like Nebraska slipped up for 10 points essentially in that first set, and that was the biggest difference point.
It was a bad day to have a bad day.
Yeah,
and I want to be process oriented because this team has been so close, but Nebraska just hasn't had it.
Yeah,
for a decade now. Essentially, since 2017. And again, I think it's harder to win a national championship in volleyball now than ever before. I think parity has really increased. I think that the teams at the top of the sport, it's not just 1 or 2, and you're just waiting to see, or maybe which 2 of the 3, superpowers in the sport and make it to the end. I mean, there are 7, 8 legitimate national title contenders this year, and I think that bears mentioning.
Yeah.
But I think to your point before, Nick, too, if this core doesn't get one, you can only be, process oriented as a program for so long. You have to be, I think, to continue to sustain the way that Nebraska has. But at some point, this core just hasn't gotten the results.
Yeah.
Even in the era where it's harder to win a title than ever, even in the era of the most loaded conference in volleyball, where we sent 8 teams to the tournament yet again. At some point, you got to get one, or this is legitimately a disappointment. As good as it has been, if it's title or bust, you can always say, well, you have next year. You have next year. I'll give them a pass for the freshman year. They were physically outgunned by an older, more mature Texas team.
But don't forget what you said after those matches, that match too.
Think how good they'll be next year.
Yeah.
Think how good they'll be the year after.
And once again,
and they haven't gotten back.
And what the players said, like, you will never forget after Nebraska lost the national championship their freshman year, it was Harper Murray sitting up at the podium as a freshman saying that they were going to win 3 in a row.
And you haven't even gotten back
and from that moment you put, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have said that, and there's been a lot of things that people can criticize Harper for.
I love the confidence at the time.
Absolutely. Great. But from that moment, you not only put a bullseye on your back, but on everybody that is associated with Nebraska volleyball on their back because of what you just said there. And it's a lot harder to do than maybe what we realized in the moment. Yeah. And once again, I love the confidence, and I'm not saying you should come out and be like, yeah, well, we hope to get back here next year. Have the expectation that you're going to get back there. Yeah. But in the way you say it, understand the weight of it as well. And maybe, from that point on, that's going to be something that people point to and say, okay, you brought this expectation on yourself, and now you've shown the inability to get back there. And that's where it's really, that's where the storyline really comes to.
And it's a program that as they've been saying this year is more about, kind of about banners. And so, as this moment happens, it can be frustrating to come short of that goal. Again, since they have won that title in 2017, they've played for it 3 times. So if they're off, it's a small margin. But again, that's as we know, only one team is going to leave this tournament off on a win. So it's not unfamiliar for the sport. It's it's obviously frustrating here. And again, you feel like this team, when you're undefeated and you have a chance to finish the season undefeated, then you get to jump into the best of all time discussions.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of part of the fall too, was like, could this team be the greatest of all time to fall to? Okay, they didn't make the Final Four. And so they're very deflating, but hats off to the team for what they did this year, and hats off to Bob Devaney Sports Center yesterday. Incredible crowd and all season long, but that game was in that atmosphere was just great. And for the growth of volleyball, I think continued that. So let's go ahead and take a quick break. One thing that did happen, Trev Alberts was in town, and Scott Frost is suing Nebraska. We'll talk about those things next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You're listening to One on One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Koppel, during the holidays, we take time to cherish our terrific staff, community, and loyal customers that continue to drive that money-saving mile to Louisville, Nebraska. Hi, this is Sean Callahan. I can proudly say I bought my car at Koppel. If you are in the area, I invite you to stop by Koppel Chevrolet GMC's offices in Louisville or check them out online at koppelcars.com. On behalf of Koppel Chevrolet GMC, Merry Christmas and safe travels to all.
I'm Terrell Farley, host of Bach in the Black Shirt Show at 1 to 3 weekdays. And my favorite thing to do, see, or go to in downtown Lincoln is the food, because they have great selections of food, and Buzzard Billy's with the great alligator they have down there.
This message is brought to you by the Downtown Lincoln Association and 93.7 The Ticket.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in December, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep the clubs out year-round. Book your holiday parties at Double Eagle Golf and make plans to join them for a New Year's Eve party. Gift cards make a great stocking stuffer for Christmas, and don't forget to look ahead to 2026 as spring leagues begin in February. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf.
Nutrition Authority invites you to check out Renew PM, the ultimate nighttime recovery formula. Fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed. Renew PM can only be found at Nutrition Authority, the home of better than internet pricing. Own the night with Renew PM. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see mostly sunny skies with a light breeze. Afternoon high around 50. Tonight, clear skies, calm winds, below around 27. And tomorrow, we'll see partly sunny skies and light winds and mild temperatures. An afternoon high near 55. I'm meteorologist Kyle Fletcher from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you ready to make a difference this holiday season? Schwiezo Construction and TMCO are hosting a diaper drive December 5th through the 19th. They're collecting diapers, pull-ups, and wipes to benefit TMCO Prep Academy, the Nebraska Diaper Bank, and Forward. Drop off your donations at Schwiezo Construction, 93.7 The Ticket, Pine Lake Self-Storage, or White Elm Brewery. Together, we care for our community. For more information, please visit Schwiezo Construction's website or Facebook page today.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins'. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
For remote starters, audio upgrades, and more, there's only one place to go. Auto Sounds of Lincoln at 48th and O.
You're listening to One on One with DP, brought to you by Canopy Street Market on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back here on One on 93.7 The Ticket for a few more minutes. Thanks again to Austin Orman and Nick Sainer for jumping in with me today. Just a few things to talk about before we get out of here, as we just wrapped up some talk on Husker volleyball. Interesting to see Trev Alberts back in Lincoln. Of course, those pictures started circulating, I suppose, Friday afternoon before Texas A&M took down Louisville and then into taking down Nebraska the other day. Does that sting a little bit anymore that Trev Alberts, keeps doing this? I mean, with the men's basketball team a couple years ago. Of course, the women got the win that day, but It does seem like Texas A&M. I mean, that's part of the reason you hate the Aggies right now, right?
It doesn't help matters at all. But at some point, don't you want to exercise that demon? Either let it go, stop letting them live rent free in your head, or hey, if you're going to keep getting chances, just win one.
That's what I was hoping for. Yeah.
And this is probably the most disappointing of those outcomes, though, right? Because you're the favorite, you're at home, you're the 1 seed, all that chatter about, being in the conversation for greatest teams of all time if you can pay it off with a title. The one in March of 24, not ideal, but you can make an argument for A&M winning that game. This one, I think, stings the most of any of those.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that one. I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much anymore. I understand why he left. You're working with a lot more down in College Station, friends, and you can't. I do not blame Trev for taking a new job, understanding what also Trev's end goal is in mind.
Yeah.
So this was just the next step.
Well, now that he's been back in town, and you kind of get that moment too. Does he fall in the rankings of Husker villain, especially at the time where Scott Frost is suing the university for mishandling millions in buyout payments and taxes, according to Frost?
I don't know. I don't see Trev as a villain. I just don't. I'm sorry. I know.
I don't either, actually.
I know that people do. I think that there's a lot that's been kept quiet about Trev and the exits and things like that. And I think if more people knew about that stuff, then maybe we'd all feel the same. And I think once again, there's a difference between, this is not going to be what Nebraska fans wants to hear. There's a difference between the Nebraska athletic department and the Texas A&M athletic department, and it's pretty substantial difference.
Nebraska and Trev broke up, but still live in the same town of 25,000 people.
Yeah.
So you're just going to bump into each other at the store from time to time.
Yeah.
Nebraska and Scott Frost move all the way across the country just to unfollow and refollow each other on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Notice me. I'm still here. Let it go.
Yeah,
just treat each other right. Let it go. It's fine. I'm with Nick on this one. I get why Husker fans would be mad at Trev Albert.
100%.
But it's hard for me to view Trev as a bigger villain than some other athletic directors, maybe in Nebraska history. Like you said, with what we think Trev's end goal could be in mind as well.
Yeah, and unnamed texter goes, ask UNO what they think of Trev. They're glad he's gone. Can we stop comparing the way that he operated things at UNO to the way he operates things with Nebraska and Texas A&M? You cannot compare the athletic departments. No. You cannot compare a Big Ten and SEC athletic department to the same way. You do not operate it. That's why there's guys that are made to just run those. There's people that is made to, and their ceiling is how they run the UNO athletic department versus guys that the ceilings are Big Ten college commissioner, conference commissioner type of deal. And there's a reason why I don't fall in line with that thinking.
Well, and there's always going to be hurt feelings at UNO over lost programs, as there is anywhere where you cut programs. But that was part of the resume that got him to Nebraska and now to Texas A&M as well. So I don't know if you consider that a complete failure.
Name one sport that isn't better now than when Trev was here. Maybe Trev laid the groundwork for that.
It did.
Maybe,
he did. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So no, he doesn't get credit for it because he's not here. But remember some of the work that Trev Alberts put in, the decisions he made. You can't say they didn't help lead to where Nebraska could be.
I was going to say also, there's a lot that I don't want to turn this into like an athletic director and conversation necessarily, but there's also a lot that we just don't know about Troy Dannen still. I'll say it. I have no issue saying that either, and that's not a knock against it.
Yeah, no, fine.
We don't know where Troy Dannen goes with major hires, and that is what athletic directors that have massive athletic departments. That's what they hang their legacy on most times than not.
And you know why we don't know about Troy Dannen's ability to hire big name programs is because Bill Moose and Trev Albert seem to have done a pretty good job in hiring.
Yeah. Maybe I am confused. The same texter texted and said, you guys just tried to compare UNO and Nebraska. When did we do that? I compared Texas A&M and Nebraska and said that they are substantially different.
Yeah.
They're still major athletic departments, but if we're looking at this like a tier system, if we wanted to, Texas A&M is tier 1, Nebraska's tier 2,
2.5,
and UNO is tier 4, 5.
Yeah,
like that's not trying to be disrespectful, and I get it. Probably rubs some people the wrong way. We love Omaha. We love Baxter Arena. We do. We love UNO hockey, all that. They just opted into the house settlement. UNO did, or Nebraska, Omaha did. And so I understand. I understand that there's some hurt feelings about everything, but I just, hey, you want to talk about football program? He was responsible for Matt Rule. So there's just a lot in terms of, I think we're going to learn a lot about Troy Dannen coming up also in the next couple of months, guys.
It's not that he left, it's the way he left. Why don't y'all get that? I think we get it maybe better than the public does because of some of what Nick is alluding to. If you knew the full story, you would probably be closer to understanding it.
I would say this also, Buck, and correct me if I'm wrong. Like, we're going to learn about Troy Dannen on how he handles Fred Hoiberg in this basketball program going forward. We know that Troy Dannen is a heavy football hire, and that's what Nebraska needed, right? Because Nebraska football is the main driver in the athletic department, and rightfully so. But let's not get it twisted that Nebraska basketball this year and Fred Hoiberg is operating on a very minimal budget in comparison to the rest of the Big Ten Conference. Yeah. And that deserves to be rewarded. And I will not shy away from that take. Yeah. I will not shy away from that take one bit. In that this basketball program right now is 11-0, best start in school history, working with bottom tier Big Ten resources. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah, good points there. And I think as the more time goes, a lot of people will probably like to remember the player, Trev. And to your point, even he's a pretty good AD before he left at midnight, and he's a former player. So again, I always get the idea, the frustration behind it. But sometimes you love a place, don't love the people you work with, sort of thing. And I think we can all kind of understand that from one time or another. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. Adam Carricker coming next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program by building a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Did you know that deer collisions are covered under the comprehensive portion of your car insurance? That means, like with hail damage or vandalism, since they are out of your control, they don't usually raise your insurance rates. And that's a good thing, since most deer don't carry liability insurance. At Eustace Body Shop, we fixed all kinds of animal collision damage, from cows to raccoons, bobcats, and even turkeys. We can't do much for the animal, but we can get your car back on all fours and looking like new again.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see mostly sunny skies with a light breeze. Afternoon high around 50. Tonight, clear skies, calm winds, low around 27. And tomorrow, we'll see partly sunny skies and light winds and mild temperatures. An afternoon high near 55. I'm meteorologist Kyle Fletcher from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.